so you guys, last time we were talking about adding and subtracting integers. So integers are positive and negative numbers. And we learned a couple of rules, like we learned these cleanup rules. So what are the cleanup rules? Let's go over those. Whenever you have something that has double signs, you clean them up to make them a single sign. So for example, a negative and a negative is going to end up becoming a positive. A positive and a positive is going to end up becoming a positive. A negative and a positive will be a negative, and a positive and a negative will be a negative. So you do have to memorize these, and they are very useful, and we're going to use them over and over again. A couple of other rules that we learned last class was what happens when you are adding numbers that are the same sign. So whenever you have numbers that are the same sign, what you're going to do is you are going to add the numbers, and then you are going to keep whatever sign they have in front of them. Okay, so for example, let's try a question like this. Oh, hello. So what if we had a question that said -3 minus 8? So for this question, you have the same sign. They both have negatives in front of them. You're going to add the numbers together. 8 plus 3 is 11. And the sign in front of both of them is a negative. So the answer would be -11. What about if you had a question like +15 plus 7? Again, you add the numbers together so that you're going to get 22. And then the sign in front of both of those is a positive. So it would just be +22. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. I think we all got that. The other rule that we learned is what happens when you have different signs. When you have different signs, you are going to subtract the numbers, and you are going to take the sign of the larger number. Okay, so for example, if you have something like +10 minus 7, clearly these numbers have different signs. One is a positive, one's a negative. You're going to subtract these numbers. 10 take away 7 is 3. And the sign of the bigger number is 10. The sign is positive, so it's just going to be +3. How about if you had something like -15 minus, let's do -15 plus 6. So you're going to subtract these numbers. 15 take away 6 is 9. And the sign in front of the bigger number is a negative, so it's going to be -9. Okay, so hopefully that is a good review of what we were talking about last class. Let me just go ahead and check the chat and see if there are any questions there so far, or any issues. I don't know what that says. Elevator music play. All good, all good. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so what are some other things that we were talking about when we were learning about integers? Well, the other thing is you're not going to always have such nice numbers. Sometimes you're going to have you're going to have double signs. So what do we do when we get a double sign? Okay, so let's get a different color and let's try a question. So part of the questions from your homework, just grab that sheet. Looked like this. So I'm just going to take a question from one of the questions that you had. Let's say you have something like, this is question B from your homework, -23 minus -13. Okay, so I know you guys laughed, but yesterday I started talking about illegal numbers. So right here we have what I call an illegal number, because you are not allowed to have two double negatives like this. So what are we going to do? We're going to clean up those signs. We're going to go back to our cleanup sign rules, and two negatives will actually make a positive. And so what you're going to end up getting is -23. Negative and a negative will be positive, and then you're going to get a 13. Now these are different signs, so we're going to subtract the numbers. 23 take away 13 is going to give me 10. And then the sign in front of the bigger number is negative. So it's going to be negative 10. And that's sort of the process you basically had to do for every single one of these questions. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try question number, we did negative, negative, negative. Let's try third, this is question I, and it says positive 37 minus positive 34. So once again, here we have double signs. We're not allowed to have those. So we're going to use our cleanup rules. We're going to look at the chart. A positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive cleans up to give you just a negative 34. Now here we have two different signs. So again, we're going to subtract these numbers. 37 take away 34 is just 3. The bigger number is 37 and the sign in front of it is positive. You don't need to write down the positive. You can just leave it as just a 3. Okay. All right, let's do maybe 2 more examples of this. We have positive, negative, positive. How about something like L? L is a really good one. Okay, let's try question L. L says negative 27 minus positive 43. So in this question, we have a negative and a positive, but look what happens. When we clean it up, we get negative 27, a negative and a positive will just give me a negative 43. We end up with the same sign. So what we have to do when we have a question with the same sign is we have to add these numbers together. Now, when you're adding these numbers, remember, no calculator. So you may have to go somewhere along the side, or, you can call a portion of your sheet just like rough work. Which looks a little messy. So, you can do whatever you want. You can add them up however you like, but don't use a calculator. 7 plus 3 is 10. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus another 1 is 7. And then you're just going to end up getting a negative 70 as your answer. Okay, and let's do one more question from this page. What haven't we done?
Isn't it positive 70 because you said negative and negative is positive?
That's only when you are multiplying or when the signs are right next to each other. So the cleanup signs are only used when the signs are right next to each other, or if you're multiplying and dividing. At this stage of the question right here, you are now adding these or subtracting these integers together. So when you get to this stage, what you need to do is you have to use, let me just scroll up, sorry. You have to use these rules right here, same sign and different signs. Okay, so when you get it to a stage where everything is cleaned up and the signs are the same, you have to add the numbers and keep the sign. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you. It's really useful when you guys use your mics, because then I'm not checking the chat and I won't really know what's happening. Okay, what have we not done? Like, what scenario have we not done? Let's take a look. We've done negative, 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 positive, negative, positive, negative, negative, positive. We haven't done... okay, we haven't done one of these. Let's do question O. Hopefully you guys got this far when you did your homework. Question letter O says negative 99 minus positive 91. We're going to clean these signs up, and we're going to get negative 99. A negative and a positive gives me negative 91. Oh no, we get the same scenario. I didn't really want this, but that's okay. Okay, we're going to add these numbers together, and we're going to get 190, and then the sign is going to be negative because they're the same sign. You add the numbers and you keep the sign. Okay, so what questions do we have about this so far, if any? I don't use boxes, I use O's, that's fine. Do nothing. Okay, any math questions while I filter through this stuff? You forgot the box. No questions at all. Awesome. Okay, let's just extend on this. We're still going to add and subtract. So I just want to go over our next part of this, and then we're basically going to be done. I just want to make sure I'm recording. Yes, I am recording, and I want to make sure this is on. All right, now these are, again, like pretty basic questions. So what happens when we start to get a little bit more sophisticated. So for example, what if I don't just give you two numbers? What if I give you a lot more? Okay, so for example, you guys, I love these colors. I'm having so much fun with them. Okay, what if I give you a question like this? Okay, so if you're writing along with me, I don't know what number we're on, but let's say it's -3 plus 6 minus 8 minus 4 plus 7 plus 11. How do you solve a question like this? So I have a specific way that I solve these types of questions, and this is how I do it. I think the best way to solve them is actually first to order them and put all the negatives together and all the positives together. So let's recognize what's what. That's a negative, that's a negative, that's a negative. -3, -8, -4. This is +6. This is +7. This is +11. So I'm going to rewrite them. It doesn't matter which ones you write first. Let's go ahead and write the positive numbers first. So we have +6 plus 7 plus 11. And then we have -3 minus 8 minus 4. And if you're wondering where I got this question from, I just made it up in my head. So like it's just, you're just copying the example with me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at all of the positive numbers. And we're going to look at all of the negative numbers. Remember our rule. If you have the same sign, you can add all of the numbers together and you can keep the sign. So we can add 6 plus 7 plus 11. I keep talking about rough work. I do want you to get used to doing that. So for example, let's come over here and I'm just going to call this part of my page my rough sheet. And always on the side, just have a little rough, you know, or another piece of paper. So we're basically adding 11 plus 6 plus 7, all of it together. Okay, so 6 plus 1 is 7, 7 plus 7 is 14, 4, carry the 1, this is going to be 2. So right over here, this number is going to be a +24. For a question like this, I don't need to see a million steps. I want you to try and consolidate and solve in as many efficient steps as possible. So I'm trying to show you a way to do this question that I think is the fastest and the easiest. Group all the positives together, group all the negatives together, add the positive numbers, and now let's go ahead and add the negative numbers. So basically, when you have the same sign, you're adding the numbers, and then you are going to keep the sign. So 8, we can just do this one in our heads. 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. So this is going to be -15. Now in this stage, these are different signs. So we have to follow our rule for different signs. When you have different signs, you're going to look at these numbers and you're going to subtract them, which is going to give you 9. And then you're going to take the sign of the bigger number, which will be a positive. Do you need to write down the positive? No, you don't. If you wanted to leave it just as 9, that is actually the best way to write this question.
I have a question. So like, do we have to show our rough work or can we just do it like mentally?
You absolutely have to show your work because there's no other way for me to mark it. Like I can't get into your heads and mark it. So if this question was out of 3 marks and you just showed me your work, I mean, you just showed me your answer, you'd only get 1 out of the 3 marks.
Like I'm talking about like the rough work part, like, you know.
Oh, the rough work. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, you could just do that in your head. That's totally fine. But like, let's say you accidentally write 23 and I can kind of see where you went wrong. You could potentially get part marks. But if you're super confident and you feel like, no, the rough work I've done in my head is right, then I don't need to see this. No.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Can I actually also tell you guys at this moment, let's look at the format that I'm using that I talked about last class. I want all of your equal signs to line up, which I have done. I want you to be working downwards, not horizontally, but vertically. And your final answer needs to be shown in some way. You don't have to box. My preferred method is box. My grade 9 teacher taught me that and it's never left my mind. You can circle, you can underline, you can highlight, you can do whatever you like, but please make sure, you know, part of math is also like the format and stuff like that. So it's really important to have good format. Let's do one more question like this. Okay, let's do, I'm going to take one actually from your sheet. So we're going to do, well, you don't have your sheet with you right now. You might, but I'm just going to write it down and we'll try it. Okay, so let's try this question. 14 minus 11 minus 8 plus 12 minus 2 minus 14. I'll give you a second to write it down. Okay, so let's collect all of the terms that look the same. What is happening here? Why is it not letting me change colors? Oh, I don't want this anymore. Oh, I think I see why. No, I'm nothing without my colors. Okay, so we have a positive 14, a positive 12, and a negative, sorry, we're trying to do all the positives first, right? Okay, so those are our only positives. And then we have a negative 11, negative 8, negative 2, and negative 14. So let's go ahead and order these together. Doesn't matter if you put the positives or negatives first, to be honest, you can just do whatever. So I always like to put the positives, positive 14 plus 12, and then my negatives are negative 11, minus 8, minus 2, minus 14. Some people, as they go along, they like to cross out the terms that they've used already. I'm okay with that, just so you make sure you don't miss anything. So for example, when I'm writing negative 11, then I'll cross it out. Then negative 8, cross it out, negative 2, cross it out, negative 14, cross it out. Totally up to you, your preference. Okay, now we have 2 positives and we have 4 negatives. So we're going to use our rules of the same sign. When you have the same sign, add the numbers and keep the sign. So 14 plus 12 is going to give me 26 and a positive sign in front of it. This one over here, we might have to go to our rough work section and just figure it out there. So 11 plus 8 is 19, 2 plus 14 is 16, and now we have to add these together. So we're going to end up getting 35.
35.
Thank you. 10, 20, 35. And if you wanted to do that in your head, I'm okay with that. And then we end up putting, don't forget, it's negative 35 because every single one of these signs is a negative. Okay, same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. As our last step, these are different signs, which means we need to subtract these numbers. And when we do that, we're going to get a 9. And then the sign in front of the bigger number is this negative. So it's going to just be negative 9. Then we're going to box our answers. You don't have to see the answer. And I could not see the chat. You're right. Now I can. Can you skip the grouping or is it mandatory? If you skip the grouping and you just start answering the question, what ends up happening is your answer gets super, super long because then you're basically either trying to do it in your head or you're just doing each individual term. I prefer the grouping. I think it's the most efficient way to do it. So try it, try it when you try the homework tonight and see how you like it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I do want to see the grouping. Yes, thank you, Maria. The next type of question I'm going to do where you say total of positives, negatives. No, I do prefer to see it. Okay, the last type of question we're going to do, you guys, is this one right here. It is full screen this and make this a little bit smaller so I can see you guys. Where did my stuff go? No, go away. Okay, there we go. All right, so the last type of question we're going to do, again, like I said, we're basically building upon all of our skills, is we're going to do one with a bunch of signs that we have to first clean up and then we have to order together. So let's do 2 types of examples of these and then we're done for the day. So let's try this question right here. This is actually part from your homework. It's going to be question 4A from your homework, and it's going to be bracket negative 3 plus bracket negative 8 minus positive 9 minus negative 7. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to write this down.
Is that an A beside the 4 or is that a 9?
It's 4A.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do I do a question like this? Do not start to organize and rearrange these questions. What you need to do is you have to first clean up the signs. Remember, I see something super illegal right now. What is happening? Why is that happening? I think I clicked something, sorry. Oh, now I stopped sharing. No, not in math. We don't like illegal in math. Or ever. Okay, so we need to go ahead and clean up all of these signs. Remember, we can't have a positive and a negative together. We can't have a negative and a positive together. We can't have this negative and negative together either. So when we clean up our signs, the first number is fine. Nothing happens there. A positive and a negative, look at the chart that I made or you may have written down, it becomes a negative. Once you have cleaned up a sign, you guys should only have one sign there. No double negative, no double signs, just one sign. A negative and a positive is -9. A negative and a negative is +7. Okay, so hopefully you guys are following along. I hate making questions messy, but just so in case you are visual learners, don't do this on a question. I'm just showing it to you right now. This sign, these two cleaned up to be this. These two cleaned up here. And these two cleaned up here. Now we're ready to group our terms together and add and subtract, but look how nice this is because all of the negatives are already together and the only positive is by itself. So we lucked out in this case. We actually don't have to group anything together. We can go ahead and start adding and subtracting. We're going to add all of the negatives. So 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 9 is 20, and the sign in front of all of them is negative, plus a 7. These are different signs, so we are going to subtract our numbers. 20 take away 7 is 13, and the sign in front of the biggest number is a negative, so it's going to be -13. Okay. Let's do one more question like these. A really nice pink. That's nice. Let's try this one. So this is going to be question 4. Nope, not F. It's going to be question 4H from your handout. And question 4H says -16 minus +8 plus -4 minus -7. Okay, hopefully you guys have written this down. That was a lot of time, actually. All right, so again, we can't have a negative and a positive together. We can't have this positive and negative together, and we can't have these two negative signs together. So step number 1 is clean up all of these signs. The first number is -16. That's going to stay where it is. The second one is negative and a positive, which will just give me a -8. Positive and a negative will give -4. and negative will give positive 7.
7.
What's that?
No.
Oh, you're answering. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Another question where we don't have to organize anything. I was really hoping that one of these questions we'd have to rearrange. You know what? We're pretty early. It's only 2:34. So I'll do one more question with you guys after this. Look how nice this question is. Everything lines up so perfectly. You don't have to do any work. We're just going to add all these numbers together. So you're just going to go to your rough section, or you're going to do it in your head. It's up to you. 8 plus 4 is 12. So 16 plus 12 is going to give me 28. So this number right here is going to be negative 20. Okay, thank you. You know what? You don't have to answer. Let me just explain, and then you can ask questions after. And then the positive 7 is going to go right over here. You have different signs. So what you're going to do is you're going to subtract these numbers, and you're going to end up getting a 19. And the sign in front of the bigger number is negative. So your final answer is going to be, oh, sorry, I did that wrong.
21.
Yep, sorry, I noticed that. But right now, it's going to be a 21 and then a negative sign. Thank you very much. Okay, hopefully you're getting the hang of it, but like it's just bothering me that all of these questions are working out so nicely. I want a question where I want to rearrange. So we're gonna do one more question. Let's try this one. Okay, let's just make one up. So we're going to have positive 5 minus negative 8 plus negative 3 minus negative 2. And then let's have plus minus plus negative 7. Give me a second to write that down. Okay, so just like before, we are going to clean up the signs. So negative and a negative, positive and a negative, 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 and then there's nothing to clean up for that one. So you're going to have positive 5, a negative and a negative is positive 8, a positive and a negative is negative 3, a negative and a negative is positive 2, minus 7. Good, it worked out. So now we're going to gather our terms that are positives and negatives. We have a plus sign here, we have a plus here, and a positive 2 there. And then we have a negative 3 here and a negative 7 here. Okay, so let's put them all together. We're going to get plus 5. And this is what I mean. You can't cross them out when you're done with it. Plus 8, cross it out. Plus 2, cross it out. Negative 3, cross it out. Negative 7, cross it out. You don't have to cross it out at all. I just feel some people enjoy doing that. Here are our plus signs. Here are our minus signs. So we're going to go ahead and add these numbers together, and we're going to end up getting positive 15. And then we're going to add these numbers together, and we're going to get negative 10. Different signs, subtract the numbers and take the sign of the bigger number. So it's just going to end up being positive 5.